Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests, and welcome to the 5,419th meeting of the 9th largest club in the world. So good to be with all of you today, and as a little bonus gift for the new year, you got 10 minutes of additional fellowship time. Hope you enjoyed it. But no, seriously, for those of you who know me, you know I'm very time-oriented, so my stomach is in knots over this 9-minute delay. But we had a little hiccup with IT. If there's any issues with the slides, just look away. It's all gonna go just fine. So I would like to, come on up, Bobby. We have an exciting time today on the agenda. We'll be introducing a new Red Badge member, but before we do that, his mom is here to sing the national anthem for us today. Please warmly welcome Bobby Hosfield Ward. Go for it. No. Okay.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much. Wow, that was amazing. I'm covered in goosebumps and I've got a sweater and a jacket on. Well done, Bobby. Thank you so much. And a special thank you to the Welcome Committee, who you didn't see very many of them in the greeting line today because they are busy checking you in and doing your badges. But on behalf of Chair Bill Schroe, thank you to the Welcome Committee, and I hope you all had a chance to stop by the committee tables in the lobby. Of course, we had the Gala Committee, and that's chaired by Heather Lerner. Los Amigos, chaired by Audrey Fox and Sarah Janigans. Right there, wave, ladies. Perfect. And Facilities, chaired by Jen Simmons. Now, Jen does an amazing job as chair of the Facilities Committee, as all of our chairs do, but she really has a thankless job in some ways because it doesn't generate as much enthusiasm as some of our other activities. So please join me in thanking Jen Simmons for her dedication. Now, of course, it's that time of the month where we have the sweet treats from Lindley Zink's Sweet Little Bakery. They're over here by the coffee, and to the students who are visiting with us today, we're going to be sending you home with extra cupcakes if they're not all eaten. So you got something to look forward to. And while we don't have any birthdays that fall on this day, here are our Rotarians who are celebrating January 6th through the 12th. As always, please reach out and just give them some warm wishes. And now it's that special time for guest introductions. A reminder, we will always go clockways. And today our Red Badgers with traveling mics are Kelly Dipple. And Kelly, thank you for taking on the leadership of the Service to Seniors Committee. We're thrilled with that. And Kurt Walakevich, over here, please briefly introduce yourself. Kirk, we'll start with you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kirk Walakevich. I'm a CPA, so looking forward to seeing everyone over the next few months. And my sponsor is Heather Lerner.
Perfect, thank you. And Kelly?
Hi there, I'm Kelly Dipple. I am not a CPA. I am in real estate. My sponsor is Sargio.
Thank you. Now, if you're a visiting Rotarian or you have a guest, please stand. And let's start with the judge up here, please. Run, Kirk, run.
Thank you, President Karen. My guest is Simon Linder, a graduate of Northwestern School of Engineering, and he's just moved back to San Jose from Ohio.
Welcome back, Simon.
Hi, President Karen, Amy Pizarro from Notre Dame High School, and we decided to make a little field trip out of this meeting today. So I'm pleased to present Monica Gomez, who is our alum relations manager and an alum herself, Suzanne Garcia, who is our assistant head of school, Nick Tedder, who is a government teacher at Notre Dame, and then I'm going to invite our students to introduce themselves. They're from the League of Young Women's Voters. Wonderful.
I'm Mia, and I'm in the graduating class of 2025, and thank you for having me today.
My name is Maggie, and I am a graduate of the class of 2024, and thank you for having me today.
Oh.
Hello, my name is Layla, and I am a graduate from the class of 2024, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, we're thrilled you're here. Thank you for bringing them. President-elect Lerner.
Hello, President Karen. Heather Lerner. I am so pleased to present my guest, Hal Hendrickson. He's a retired sales and marketing executive and one of the best things I got out of Boy Scouts.
And what about that other man that's sitting at the table there?
We don't introduce him anymore. He doesn't like it.
Jay Alexander,
Jay
her husband is here.
Alexander.
Yay, Jay. All right. Madam President.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cynthia Teniente Matson, and my guest today is Dr. Judy Nagai, who is our Vice President for University Advancement at San Jose State University. Welcome, Judy.
Welcome, Judy. Go Spartans.
Good afternoon,
Hello.
President Karen. I have about a half table full here. First, I'd like to introduce my husband, John Dodds. And a lot of you haven't seen him for a while. Here he is. And then the wonderful friends that are actually Blake's parents. Blake is the person I'm sponsoring. And the woman with the golden voice, Bobby Ward, and her husband, Jeffrey Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Big Boss.
Oh, sorry. I'm Rod Duradon, and this is my wife in control of the COVID prevention, and it's Dr. Gloria Duffy.
A voluntary member of the Rod Squad. Kelly, please introduce your guest.
I would like to introduce Carla Mullins, a very good friend of mine. She was my trusted lender for many years, and now she is transferring into real estate.
Welcome. All right, now it's many of your favorite times of the meeting, and that's Mindfulness Moment with Anna Rudell. Anna, come on up.
It really is a moment today, everybody. Only 2 minutes I'm allowed. So this is a very quick awareness meditation for your toolkit in cases of crisis or overwhelm. I want you to become still wherever you are. Lightly close your eyes and bring awareness to whatever is going on for you right now. Give the weight of your body up to gravity. Allow your weight to sink into the points of contact between your body and the chair. What sensations are there right now? If you notice any tension or resistance to painful or pleasant sensations, gently turn towards them. Accept them as best as you can. And if you begin to tense around your breath, then let go a little bit with each breath. Notice any thoughts as they arise and pass away in the mind. See if you can let them come and go without becoming too identified with their content. Notice any feelings and emotions as they arise. Allow your awareness to gather around the experience of the breath in the body. Can you rest within the flow of each breath? Gently broaden and expand your awareness to include the whole body. Feel the weight and shape of the body as it sits. Feel the breath in the whole body. Imagine you're breathing in and out in all directions. Now gently open your eyes and move your body just a little bit to wake up.
Is she amazing or what? Thank you, Anna. And now it's that very special time in the program where we invite Helen Lambert up to introduce our newest member. Helen.
Let me pull out my 20-point type notes here. Okay, I have known the young man I'm about to introduce all his life. I've watched him grow and develop into an incredible person. Those of you who have already met him will agree he is energetic, creative, and dynamic. What you don't know yet is his passion for and dedication to anything he takes on. He's an example of family legacy. His grandfather was an esteemed and highly regarded member of this club and of the San Jose business community, not to mention a Paul Harris recipient. Some of you may remember Robert Bob Hosfeld. I know of no better way to honor Bob's memory and to add to our club a member who I know will be impactful and a significant contributor. It is with great pleasure I introduce Blake Robert Ward.
Hi, everyone. This is well, first of all, thank you to my sponsor, Helen Lambert, for making this all possible. Yeah, my grandfather just accomplished the American dream. He started off with $8 to his name when he married my grandmother at the little church in downtown Carmel, and ended up becoming president of KNTV Channel 11 back in the day. He was on the founding board of C-SPAN and the creator of pay-per-view and the president of Guild Cable, which was the most, what was it, Mom? The most, yeah, that one, largest independent cable company. So I have some big shoes to fill. And I was down in LA, went to school there, and I moved back up recently. Bob's wife, my grandmother, just passed away this last February, and I'm helping the folks out. I'm in real estate. I'm with the agency over in Los Gatos, and I'm just really honored and excited to be a part of all this. I'm excited to meet all of you. And if anybody here knew my grandfather personally, I knew him as my papa, the man that taught me my multiplication tables, beat my butt at checkers all the time. If anyone has stories, I'd love to hear them. And Mom and Dad is here too. Mom, thank you for singing. It was really, really cool. So appreciate it. Excited to be a part of the club. And yeah, thank you.
All right. Well done. And there's one quick picture of you and then perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Well, I was telling Blake and his family that my theme this year is We Are Family. So how perfect that his mom and his dad are here and that his grandfather is a legacy member of our club. Welcome once again, Blake. And now it's time for our quarterly district update from Brenda Swiney. Come on in. Wait, did I get it? There we go.
All right, I'll keep it quick, as it seems like we're under time pressure right now, I've noticed. So good afternoon. I'm happy to share with you a couple of upcoming district events that hopefully many of you in the club will take advantage of. The first one is the Mid-Year Reflections, which is actually this Saturday at the Cupertino Community Center. It's a half day. It's Saturday morning. It starts off with a light breakfast at 8:30. And after some opening activities, it moves into a discussion of happy and worrisome thoughts, as DG Hung would say. And basically what that means is what's working and what's not working. After that, the program moves to mental wellness with some presenters and an update of the Ambassadors Compassion Program, which is a district-wide initiative to focus on mental wellness in our youth today. And the meeting concludes about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And if anyone, and that is actually free. So you can just sign up and go to that. If anyone's interested, there is going to be a new Charter Club celebration lunch afterwards for the Rotary Club of the San Francisco Bay Area. And that's a $35 charge, and you can sign up for both of those at the district website, and you can do one or the other. The second item is the district conference, which is happening in April. Previously, the district conference was kind of 1 or 2 days. This year, it's going to span 3 days. It's going to start the evening of Friday, April 24th, with a reception, and then Saturday is a full day, and then Sunday is a half day. There's going to be general and breakout sessions, and as you can see, the breakout sessions are about service, leadership development, mental wellness, and then there's electives. I do not know what the electives are, so, but regardless of what you basically sign up for what you want to see. Some of these speakers that are confirmed, as you can see, one of them is Gary Huang, who was Rotary International's president in the 24-25 year, and the first president from China. He was from Taiwan. We also have Dr. Todd Jenkins from Harvard Business School and Bowtie Leadership. And I've actually heard Dr. Jenkins before, and he's a good speaker. So definitely he's one to go see. He's very captivating. So I would recommend that. And then basically it goes till Sunday. And all the registration information is now available at the website that you see on the screen or on the flyer on your table. The prices range from $60 for a conference only to $350 for Saturday and Sunday meals being included. And then also it's at the Hayes Mansion in South San Jose. So it's actually close to home, which is really nice because all the times like we had to travel someplace, but it's actually very close to home. There will be discounts for staying at the Hayes Mansion, and I got to hurry up. So anyways, check out the website. Hopefully we'll see you there. It's always great to go to a district event because if you've gone to one, when you go to the next one, it is like a reunion. And speaking of reunions, Hung Wei's theme for this year is the family of Rotary. I think President Karen is getting some royalties for this.
I hope so.
Anyways.
Sweeney, not Swine.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you guys know it's Sweeney, not Swiney. What was I thinking? Thank you so much for your dedication to all of the district events and keeping us apprised of what's on the horizon, Brenda. We're very grateful. And one fun fact about Brenda, she's always in purple. In case you didn't know that, take a look at her every time. Now, I have to make up some time here, so we are going to skip Ring the Bell, and we will do it next week or the week after. So please save those fun stories that you want to celebrate. And now, Charlie McCollum is not here, so I will briefly invite Suzanne St. John Crane up to deliver her remarks regarding a journey through the civil rights movement. Now, Suzanne has been a fellow Rotarian for many, many years. She has a lengthy and distinguished bio. She's known as an innovator, a woman of vision, empathy, who strives for equity in all regards. I can't spend time reading her bio and all of her achievements because they are vast, but please do take a look in the bulletin if you'd like to learn more. Suzanne, you've got your full time to speak. Come on up.
Hey, Rotarians. How we doing? Happy New Year. We're off with a bang. That's my reward. That's my motivation, Dan. Thank you. Well, it's just an absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you here today. And, I used to chair the program committee, so I know what a discerning group it is. So when Charlie said, yeah, we'll let you have the mic, I thought, wow, better not screw this up. No. So really do appreciate it. And, I'm not one to do what I did on my summer vacation speech, right? But this trip moved me so much that I really felt compelled to share what I learned, what I didn't learn in school, what was a surprise to me. So let's see if I can hold this because there is a computer up here. All right. So I want to start with, please work. Yeah, it works. That's great. And certainly, recognizing that we're on the eve of Martin Luther King Day, I think this is a great time to really kind of reflect on not just the African American story, but the American story. This is our history and our story. I was just blown away by some of the facts that I learned. I was blown away by some of the history that happened in my lifetime that I never knew. And so my daughter, who is a junior at Notre Dame High School, look at this, huh? What timing? I didn't, this is in my speech. I was going to say this, and then you all walked in, which is kind of cool. She came home with this sticker after taking her APUSH class and learning about Frederick Douglass. And, as we watch book bans taking hold across this country, protecting our children from such provocative books like Ruby Bridges Goes to School and Charlotte's Web, right? I'm so grateful to Notre Dame that my child has the opportunity to learn real history, the hard stuff. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about it, we have to face it, and we have to reconcile with what is our American history. And actually, I'm reminded that I didn't learn this either, right? And I grew up in California and went to Catholic schools. And so that's kind of where I start this today, just saying that, some of you may know some of what I'm sharing, some of you may be shocked, but I hope you're inspired by the resiliency of the people that are living history in Alabama. So through my work at American Leadership Forum, I came to know this guy named Ben McBride. Ben McBride is an author. He wrote a book called Troubling the Water that came out this year. He also studied under John Powell. If you've heard of the Othering and Belonging Institute at Cal, he is a student of John Powell. And he was coming to our ALF Fellows classes and talking about, how we reconsider our relationships with each other, really, and focus on our shared humanity and how we can broaden, I love this phrase, widen the circle of human concern. Widen the circle of human concern. I did a podcast with Ben that I'm happy to share if you're interested. The link is on the ALF website, but the first thing he says is, we have to look at the Republicans, we have to look at the Democrats, we have to look at the CEO, and we have to look at the guy on the front lines as human beings. We have to see each other for our shared humanity. How do we widen the circle of human concern and get back to hearing and loving each other? And so that was very attractive to me. And as he talked to our fellows program, fellows about this, he was certainly inspiring many, many folks. The other thing he challenged us to do, and I'll share this with you because it's stuck with me, right? It's one of those things, which is, what's the history we know? What's the history we don't know? And why don't we know it? Who's responsible for the narrative, right? And it takes a real sense of curiosity and being a lifelong learner to seek that out, to discover. And I think my history in community media, 24-year career in that and in storytelling really inspired me to dig and to courageously listen and learn. But his question about why don't we know it and who's in charge of the storytelling is very provocative. And think about that as I take you on this journey today with some photos. So interestingly enough, Ben takes professional sports teams on these trips. He had a complete trip booked to Alabama for the Dallas Mavericks NBA team. And the NBA screwed up their schedule and they had to cancel and the whole trip was paid for. And so he called me and he said, want to come? Literally. And I said, yes, I'd love to come. And so a group of ALFers, senior fellows, went. And I'll just tell you, on day one, as we showed up for I hurried from the airport and showed up for this, we were greeted by a man named Richard. And Richard was a guest speaker. There's about 20 of us in the room. And what I didn't know is Richard was the first African-American mayor of Birmingham. Like, this is a guy that would be in front of me at the grocery store, right? I mean, this man served as mayor for 20 years. And this is shortly after African-American people got the vote in the 60s, the Voting Rights Act, right? About 14 years later, he comes in as mayor, first Black mayor, and one of the things he worked towards is making sure that Black people can apply for jobs. This was not happening, right? And as somebody that's, I feel like I've read, I feel like I've gone to good schools, how did I not know this? How did I not know that this was our history? So his legacy is he spent 14 years ensuring 20 years ensuring that folks can get government contracts and people of color can respond to those RFPs. Not easy work, breaking barriers, making sure that that was available. And later that day, we went to the Birmingham Civil Rights Museum, and there was an entire exhibit about Richard Arrington, his office, his legacy, all the news clippings, footage from television stations, right? And I share that story to start this because that is an example of, I mean, that's like the foundation of this trip, that living history is all around you. It's somebody in plain clothes. It's somebody who is, walking down the street, who absolutely changed the trajectory of millions and millions of lives, right? That just gives me chills. And to sit across the table from this man and hear his story was phenomenal. So I'm going to start with a few pictures. Don't judge my photography, friends. So on day one, we gather, I talked about that already. Let me skip to this. So in this nondescript tiny house, right, once lived a civil rights hero. And here I am in Alabama, looking kind of sweaty and hot from walking all over the hot South. Now, what I noticed about this house is that there were no security cameras. There's a lawn sign nearby, I think. No fences, no guards, no pomp and circumstance, right? But here lived a civil rights hero. And this was ground zero of the civil rights movement in Alabama in the 50s. This is Martin Luther King's house. And it is not protected. It doesn't stand out by any means, right? You can walk up onto the steps. You can walk up onto the porch. And on the porch to, let's see, your right, I couldn't get a good picture of it, but is a ripple in the porch, right? The ground is rippled. And I asked, what is that ripple from? Coretta Scott King and their baby daughter Yolanda were living there. And Martin Luther King was at church, and the KKK came and planted a bomb on their porch trying to kill his family. And looking at that ripple, it's still there, right? That didn't happen that long ago. And Martin Luther King, and this was in response, by the way, to the success of the Montgomery bus boycott, right? Got too successful, so we have to show our power by doing this and threatening your leader. He was a preacher at the time at the Dexter Baptist Church, and what he said to folks is, in order to be truly free, you have to do two things. First, you have to forgive everybody for everything they've ever done to you. Whew. Who's good at that? I'm still working on that one. And second, you have to lose your fear of death. When hundreds of angry congregants showed up at Martin Luther King's house, just ready to defend him and so enraged that this happened to this man, and fortunately his wife and daughter were fine, but they were lucky they were in the back of the house. He calmed them, he reassured them, and he sent them home. These people showed up with weapons and bats, and this man turned what could have been a Civil War moment into an example of forgiveness and peace. I don't know what I would have done in that situation. He was the preacher at Dexter Baptist Church. Here is Ben. You'll see Ben as the kind of tall African-American man facing the camera in the back. And then our group, as we're learning about Dexter Church. He was a preacher there from 1954 to 60. Now, here's something really interesting, ladies in particular, that I did not know, right? I show up there and Ben says, say the name Joanne Robinson. Go ahead and say it. Joanne Robinson, right? He made us say it 3 times. I'm not going to make you do that. Joanne Robinson is actually the one that started the Montgomery bus boycott. It was not Martin Luther King. Go to Wikipedia and MLK gets credit for this, but it was actually Joanne Robinson. Joanne Robinson snuck into the basement of this church where she was a parishioner with other women behind MLK's back and the other male leaders who typically in this church and typically in churches at that time had the leadership positions and all the power, right? She snuck in and made 35,000 handbills. Okay, remember the ditto machines? Yeah, right. 35,000 in one night and distributed them across the city in response to Rosa Parks getting arrested. for not sitting in the back of the bus, right? That story we probably know. And she and other women distributed it across the city. And that is what started the Montgomery bus boycott. Didn't know that, right? So just down the street from this church, like literally just, oh, there she is. There's Joanne. And actually she's holding up her booking number for when she got arrested during the bus boycott, as most did who participated. So just down the street from the church, it's eerie, like everything is so close to each other. You are living in a history book when you look down the street and look around. The clues and the evidence and the stories are right there. It's incredible. So just down the street's the Capitol, and in front, Ben took us to see two monuments that represent two very different narratives, right? And I just want to pause here and say that is what I saw everywhere. Two different narratives everywhere. And it's really interesting to see how workers, residents, people of different colors and creeds navigate that and walk around and coexist, knowing that tension is there. It's fascinating. I'll say one other thing too. I went to Birmingham, Selma, Montgomery. We went by bus. We drove everywhere. We went through neighborhoods. We walked. I didn't see one political sign. Not one. For anybody. It was really struck me. So these two signs on the left is a monument to the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis and Dixie, placed there by the United Daughters of the Revolution in 1942. And Ben asked us to kind of reflect on that and look at that as a symbol of what is the message being sent by that monument? What is the timing of that monument being placed, 1942? So from 1877 to 1950, 4,400 African American people were publicly lynched in the South. This was 1942. So if you think about the stories that we didn't know, the stories we do know and why we know them, and why would you place that representation in a very, very public place, praising somebody that stood by while this happened, right? It caused us to question. And directly across the street is the same exact looking monument that commemorates the Voting Rights March and MLK from Selma to the state capitol. And it's looking at those two very different narratives and stories just cause you to pause, right? It was eerie. And what made it more eerie is as I was standing there, my phone went off and I looked down, and the Supreme Court announcement of the news came down that the Supreme Court refused to delay Alabama's lower court's ruling, drawing of a new map with two majority or near majority Black districts. Alabama had not complied with the Supreme Court's ruling around that. And the Supreme Court was then forcing the issue. So if you think about the dates here, if you think about that history, and then you think about that this fight is still going on and has in fact been renewed around who gets to vote, it's pretty telling and causes you to ponder. When you walk directly to the other side of the street, oh yeah, I talked about that already. Thank you. Look at me, I'm ahead of schedule, guys. Speaking of voting, I wonder if you can see this. Maybe the people in the front can. I tried to blow it up as much as I could. This is a literacy test that is from Louisiana, that up until the 40s, 50s, 60s, only Black people had to take when they went to try and vote. So I'm sure our history teacher can fact check me on some of this, but what we were exposed to there are examples of literacy tests that African American people had to take. This is 9 questions that, in my humble opinion, is pretty mind-numbing, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Things like circle the first letter of the alphabet in this line. In the space below, draw 3 circles, one inside engulfed by the other. I mean, just nonsensical stuff. There were 30 of these questions. People taking the test had to do it in 10 minutes, and they couldn't have one mistake. This is why African American people didn't get to vote, right? Because they were set up to fail. This happened through the 60s, my friends, right? And I just think about the embarrassment and the shame and the humiliation of that. And then I look at how they kept fighting for civil rights and for the opportunity to just engage in a basic American right of voting. It's pretty amazing. The other thing I'll share with you is when we went to the Legacy Museum, I'm going to talk about in just a second, Brian Stevenson's Legacy Museum, they had other examples of these tests from Alabama, Texas, other southern states, and one of them had a jar of jelly beans in front of it, and you had to correctly guess how many jelly beans were in a jar in order to vote. When I think about how angry that would have made me, right? And how humiliating. I mean, there's a great depiction Oprah Winfrey does in the movie Selma, if you've ever seen that, or maybe want to check that movie out in Selma, of taking a literacy test and what they had to endure just to get that basic right. And you can look these up online too, and there's examples of these. So Ben took us to Birmingham, and we stood in a place called Kelly Ingram Park. Is anybody, I bet our history teacher knows this. How many folks have heard of Kelly? I'm totally calling this guy out, poor guy. He's like, I don't know. Kelly Ingram Park, ring any bells? Okay, yeah, I didn't know it either, so you're not alone. I appreciate this sign that says a place of revolution and reconciliation. And to me, this is truly the beauty of the South and of Alabama, and what I saw is that it is not a place that is trying to necessarily hide its history, but it's trying to recognize that this happened. And we have this beautiful, amazing opportunity with all of our resiliency to reconcile, right? And to move through this and do better and make better decisions. So this entrance to this park says place of revolution and reconciliation. Well, guess who's behind the public art in this park? Richard Arrington. His name is everywhere on these pieces that we got to meet and talk to. So Kelly Ingram Park, on May 2nd, 1963, more than 1,000 students skipped school and marched downtown, gathering at the 16th Street Baptist Church across the street. And what's interesting about this, right, it was the kids. It was called the Children's Crusade, right? MLK and his compadres were completely against involving kids. They said, absolutely not. The children will not be asked to do anything. They need to stay in school. The adults got this, right? But what I learned is it was the kids that started it. And it's called the Children's Crusade. And so what happened is a DJ that they listened to on the radio actually gave them the signal to leave school. And this was all being plotted in advance, right? Had no idea. And all of a sudden, and many of the teachers turned their back to the class because they got word this was going to happen. The kids jumped out of windows, they ran through the front door, and they met at the back of 16th Street Baptist Church, and they went into the church congregation area, or the foyer there. And they were in droves released to go to Kelly Ingram Park and protest. Bull Connor, who's a notorious racist sheriff back in the day from that area, brought his troops in and arrested 600 children on that day. 600 children. So you can look up pictures of these kids with their little, booking number, right, and mugshots. So you know what the kids did? This is so great. And I hope this inspires you young people, but please don't jump out of windows to go to a protest. The next day, 1,000 more children showed up. And they went in the back of the church, and they came out in droves. They were wondering what was going on in the church because they couldn't see where the kids were coming in, right? They just kept coming out. And so that is when the terror happened, and Bull Connor brought his dogs and brought his fire hoses. And those are some of those iconic, horrible kind of images that we see, right, from back in the day. Just a few months later, Kitty Corner. Is where that 16th Street Baptist Church bombing happened, that church where the kids were kind of holding up to then go. No. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
I thought there was going to be no questions.
I don't think so.
We'll take her right to the end.
I might do 5 minutes. I might do 5 more minutes. We'll see. Our tour, So at any rate, the public art that Arrington put into this park, we were called to just walk through and observe silently, and it was phenomenal. To have the courage to put this artwork in a park with a call to reflect and to reconcile. It was pretty stunning, right? And that people all day are walking through this park. There's the depiction of the dogs. There's a depiction of the officer and a child. But there's also, and I didn't put it in here, but there's a beautiful, beautiful statue of 3 preachers kneeling, because that's what happened during this crusade, is 3 of them dropped to their knees and they were praying during this whole experience. There's quotes from Anne Frank about, we all have this opportunity today to make one small difference. Just an incredible example of really facing history, but also not sitting silently with it, right? That we can actually take action and make decisions differently. There's 16th Street Baptist Church, literally kitty corner from where the bombing happened of those 4 young children, that again, kind of elevated this movement to the next level. And it was, I think it was like 4 months later that actually happened. Finally, I want to share with you what to me was the most moving experience, believe it or not. It didn't happen yet. It was going to the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery. This is something I look forward to going to for a long time. If any of you, anybody see the movie Just Mercy in 2019 with Michael B. Jordan? Okay. So the gentleman that is depicted in that, Brian Stevenson, founded the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, and he founded the Equal Justice Initiative, which I encourage you to dig into and look up if this is something you're interested in. As of 2022, Equal Justice Initiative has saved 130 people from the death penalty, primarily African American people. And he started this because in Alabama, it was the only state that did not provide any legal representation for people on death row. There was no legal assistance for people on death row in Alabama. So that was his calling, to go in and change that and make sure that equal representation. The memorial honors the names of the 4,400 African Americans that were lynched between 1877 and 1950 in 12 states. I can't even describe to you in words. When I walked through this, nobody was talking. It was just that moving, right? You start out in this, I don't know if anybody's been there, but I'll just describe briefly. You start out by seeing these almost coffin-like kind of monuments that are just beautifully constructed with the names of people in different counties extensive research went into this to try and trace back, these lives and these stories. And as you walk down, those monuments start to be lifted because the floor is descending. And so it sort of harkens back to what some of these folks endured in terms of lynching, but it also beautifully depicts them being lifted up into the heavens. And it's absolutely jaw-dropping. It's jaw-dropping. I get chills just looking at the pictures and talking about it. I'll share with you that there are counties in Chicago. Chicago was one of the counties listed. There's, Texas. There's places you wouldn't necessarily have expected to. And I just commend Brian Stevenson's for all the work he put into putting this together and the tremendous research. This was depicted on one of the walls, which I feel like is one of the most inspiring quotes. With hope, because hopelessness is the enemy of justice. With courage, we will remember, because peace requires bravery. With persistence, because justice is a constant struggle. And with faith, because we shall overcome. While Martin Luther King's house didn't have any security, there was security everywhere at the National Peace and Justice Memorial and at this memorial 24/7 because of increased threats from white supremacists. It's 2024, friends. This is alive and well. I'm going to close with this picture, which is what I know is that clearly we're more than our tragedies. We're more than our tragedies, right? And we can change as a people if we have the courage to face our history and really engage in reconciliation and conversation and empathy. This is Court Square. Anybody heard of Court Square? Yeah, I hadn't heard of that either. Oh, we got one. Okay. I'm so glad there aren't history experts in this room because I might be in trouble. But Court Square has a sign next to it that says, a place of commerce back in the day, a place of business. And what we learned is that Court Square was a place of commerce and business is because it was the biggest slave trade and slave auction site in the country. So if you think about being a Black person walking through and reading that and knowing that the commerce was you, right? It's just hard to imagine. Why I like this picture though, this picture brings me hope, is you can't see it very well, but you can on here, around the circle, I noticed that there was this beautiful, vibrant mural in writing, and I asked Ben, I said, what's all that? Well, the new generation of African Americans and their allies in this town went up and painted Black Lives Matter around the curb. And every day people walk past that auction site and see a new message and a new narrative. And that gives me hope. That gives me hope. So friends, this is people voting for the first time in 1966. These are grown adults who never got to vote before because of this legacy and because of these policies. And my invite to you is to do what Ben challenged me to do. Come up with a 10-10-10 plan. What are you going to do in 10 days? What are you going to do in 10 weeks? And what are you going to do in 10 months that's realistic in response to what you learned today? My 10-day was posting on social media. My 10-week was the homework I'm doing today here at Rotary. And my 10-month is to take a group of senior fellows to Alabama, which we're doing in April. That's how we walk the talk. And as John Lewis said repeatedly in sharing this old African proverb, when you pray, move with your feet. Thank you.
That was remarkable, and I thank you. As someone who spent a year of my life living in Birmingham, Alabama, those stories rang a little too true and too emotional. So thank you for sharing that. We have time for one question.
Make it a good one.
I see you in the way back. Kirk's right next to you. There we go.
Question, as someone who was there last March doing the same thing, what's one thing you took back as an executive director in changing policies as opposed to the 10-10-10 that you did?
Yeah, that's a great question. And ALF has been on that journey for a few years of changing policies. And we work with 40 executive directors in Silicon Valley to do that. We have a cohort of DIL policy shifts, so we're already in that work. So I encourage anybody that wants information about that to seek it out, and I'm happy to be a resource. Yeah.
All right, well, we've made a donation to Loaves and Fishes in your honor for your expertise. And by the way, I mentioned that she's the CEO of the American Leadership Forum, but she's also the beautiful singer that did the Rotary rendition of Rotary We Are Family. So thank you, Suzanne St. John Crane. Won't want to miss next week. We're going to be hearing from Dr. Campbell Scott on climate change and how we can go here and where we are going, how we got here and where we are going. That should be very interesting. And finally, in my final thought of the day, be kind. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Don't forget that. Don't underestimate the power of a kind word or a listening ear. We'll see you next week.